That was some deer just running off. Hi everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I've made it out to Hollesley Common. Well, I believe that's how you pronounce it, I'm not too sure, but I'll put obviously the details of where I am in the description below to capture some of this common and the woodland area around here. And wow, what a stunning place this actually is. So it's in Suffolk. So I'm on a little bit of a road trip at the moment with my photography. So yeah, I wanted to stop off here before heading on to the coast for my next location, but that will be the following week. But yeah, wow, what a location to actually come to. There's a little bit of atmosphere within the distance. Unfortunately, it's not as thick as I wanted, but hey ho, you can never have the ideal conditions, can you? But I think today I'm going to be using my new telephoto lens to really sort of pick out some detail and look at what we've got here on the common, and also heading maybe into the wooded area as well and seeing what other compositions I can come up with. But it's about mid-January now, so yeah, obviously this area looks like it's going to be fantastic for heather. There is absolutely everywhere that you look, carpet after carpet of heather. So it's going to be a good location to come back to when the heather's obviously in full bloom, because wow, what an actual fantastic area. Now when I was looking for this actual location, I knew obviously a couple of locations I wanted to go to on my road trip, and when I was looking at Google Maps I kind of come across this area, and one of the reasons why I've been drawn to this area is this sparseness, this common area here where the trees are quite sort of isolated, and it's that type of composition that I really struggle with, or location that I really struggle with to find nearer to home. Because a lot of the wooded areas are they're very small in geographical location and size, etc. But because they're quite small, the sparse areas of trees like this area has here, they don't have it, and it's really tricky. That's why I really wanted to sort of stop off here on my road trip, and hopefully, yeah, it will be a really good stop off and some good images that I'll capture. But it's a little bit concerning though. There's a lot of gunfire going off. Now I know it's quite near an MOD site, so let's hope it's due to that, not trying to pick off any unwitting landscape photographers, hey? Let's hope. Walking along the main path here, it's working out really well. There's so many compositions to sort of pick out, and when you've got the telephoto lens on, and that reach that obviously you get can really obviously pay dividends for picking out compositions. So what I've got here, I think it's a silver birch tree that's obviously lost all of its leaf colour, as obviously we are in midwinter now, but with the reach of the lens it's working out really quite well. What I'm having to do with the lens is make sure that I've got the 10-second timer on as well, because the practicing and taking a couple of images with the 2-second timer, the shake is still there and the vibrations, which means that the resulting image is going to be quite soft when you're reviewing it on the back of the camera. So that sort of extra 8 seconds with obviously it allows the camera to calm down any obviously vibrations, completely reduced, and then obviously the image is taken. So that's one tip that I would say when you are considering to use your long lens, is to use the 10-second timer. Now with the lens that I've got, it's a Sigma 120 to 400, f 4.5 to 5.6. So at 400mm, the widest aperture that I can get is 5.6, and that's actually not too bad really, because of the separation that we've actually got at this location. It's really throwing out the background and just balancing the histogram, taking that image at f 5.6, ISO 50 and 1/40th of a second as the image. So yeah, first one really working out well. Moving into the wooded area here of the common, and wow, it's so fantastic to be within the Scots Pines area of this location, and working out to be really interesting with a composition that I've set up. As you've seen on the B-roll, I've got a composition set up and I'm having to take multiple focus points throughout the actual image to then obviously combine it together in post-processing afterwards, but working out really quite well. One of the things that drew me to this actual composition is the lay of the land is sloping up slightly, and that just adds a little bit more interest within this fantastic location, because look at the lovely colour of this dead bracken that's here. What a fantastic sort of orangey browny colour that we've got in the foreground interest, and taking the multiple images throughout and compiling it, as I say, in post-processing will work out really good, I think. So the image that I've got set up is f5, ISO 50 and about 1/60th of a second for the image, and then, as I say, taking those multiple focus points, 5 in total, and then obviously we'll combine them together in post-production. But yeah, there's a lot here to offer, and I'm really pleased that I made a stop off on my road trip. For this next image, as I veered off the main path here, not too far, to obviously find a different composition and trying to get myself right into amongst all of this bracken. So again, keeping the camera this time on about 250mm, picking out one of the silver birch trees and bookcasing it as such with the composition, because left and right of the actual silver birch is 2 of the Scots pines. They're in the background, so keeping it at f 5.6, working out really quite well, sort of throwing that background out a little bit, however not obviously too much that you can still retain what it actually is in the background as well. So yeah, working out really quite well. Settings again for that camera is obviously f 5.6, ISO 50 and 1/5 of a second as the actual exposure. Just looking at the light meter and the histogram as well, balancing out the histogram. Yeah, what an absolute composition heaven this place is. And coming to the woodland in winter, particularly here, yeah, wow, with all this bracken and the obviously mist that's in the distance, hopefully, yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting location to stop off at. Continuing my walk around the common here, I walked right round the back of these silver birch trees, and just taking a little side path off here to sort of make that turn back towards the car. It's really opened up a fantastic composition, and that's just what it is around here. I can't believe how many compositions there can be. But with this one, what I've actually got is the silver birch trees with the lovely bracken that I've had here in the foreground, but I've purposely underexposed this image because what I really want to do is where I underexposed it, it's put in the dark background, making that even darker, and the bright white of the silver birch trees pop that little bit more and create that little bit more separation within the actual composition. So I've opened up the aperture, or closed down the aperture, to f11 for this one, ISO 50, and I can't remember the shutter speed, but obviously put all those details in the description below. But yeah, wow, I think what I'm liking about this one compared to some other of the silver birch trees is they're quite straight, they're quite vertical. So yeah, it's working out really quite nice. A lot of the other silver birch trees are a little bit more sort of gnarly and full of character, which is great because there's a lot to pick out and a lot of detail there. But these ones, as I say, in particular, are quite straight, and I think for this composition, having it in vertical orientation again for this composition, working out really quite well. And about 250 or so on the lens again, really obviously using that reach of the lens and picking out all of the details, so that's really good. Now, I know I said I wanted to do wildlife photography with this lens, and there is deer around here. I did see them earlier, but there is some deer over there, and I'm sure there is a white deer. I can't believe it. It's not a sheep. No, it's not a sheep. I can look at it about the back of the camera. I've got one image, but wow, let's just quickly set this camera up for something else. And half the trouble is sometimes when I'm doing landscape photography, you end up having it set up one way and then on to the other. Now, using the crop factor on this actual camera, I've got an extra reach, which is about, with the 400mm extension on it, ends up being about 640. But with that extra reach, I'm going to be able to get a lot better reach on this lens. Yeah, there's a group of them there. It's definitely not a sheep. They've got two bigger ears for a sheep. Wow. If I'm quiet and careful, because there is a group of people walking up with a dog, so always got to be cautious. I may well be able to get another composition, so let's have a look. Yeah, so just moving up the path carefully and slowly, you can start to see them. There's a bit of patience involved within wildlife photography, isn't there? And you can easily fill up the memory card, I reckon. But wow, what an unexpected, just on the way back to the car. If any of them come out, which is probably unlikely given that I'm not used to doing this at all, I'll obviously post up the images as well. But wow, what a bonus to actually see these here and to capture them as well on camera, not physically, for obvious reasons. Making it back down to the car now, and what a fantastic shoot this turned out to be. To capture those deers right at the end there was, well, amazing. That's the only word I can really describe. And put to use the telephoto lens. as I say, the Sigma 120 to 400 lens, f4.5 to 5.6. Yeah, what a fantastic lens this is actually going to be. And one gap within my lens lens repertoire that I had that I didn't obviously have. So obviously having a telephoto lens, I really didn't. I was considering, I must admit, I was considering just going for the standard Canon 70 to 200, but I was like, do you know what, I really want something to really sort of reach that bit further and to maybe use for some wildlife photography, and this lens is really going to tick all those boxes for me. So I'm super pleased that I've been able to purchase it and put it to use here on the Common today. But thanks everyone for watching. If you've really enjoyed it, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed already. And until the next location where I'm going to go to now, that will be next week. Take care.